Thank you so much for your participation at the 3-minute thesis competition. So today, and to start, let me allow Fernanda to get in. So, and also just a second to start with everyone here. So today we will have this workshop with the speak and lead. David and Carolina will be here with us to give us a science communication and public speaking workshop. I hope that we will get a lot of tips and hints to help you not only here at the 3-minute thesis videos, but also for your daily basis, because as you know, we want that you dedicate part of your time to science communication, because it is really important not only for us as researchers, but also for the public that wants to know more about our projects. So welcome for the ones that are here with us today, for the finalists, for the participants. It is a huge challenge to be able to squeeze a thesis and the projects in 3 minutes, we know that, but we like challenges and we like to challenge you also to this kind of competitions. So thank you so much for your participation. I will pass the word to David and to Carolina to start our workshop. Thank you so much. David, thank you so much for your participation here in our training for the 3-minute thesis competition. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll just share my screen with you. Everybody seeing the screen? Yeah, the PowerPoint? Yeah. So first of all, good morning to everyone. The workshop that we have prepared is mainly focused on the practical side of public speaking. We're going to try to give you some tools that you can use not only on the competition, but also that you can use in your life and also in science communication. But firstly, we're going to do this in a way that we're going to have multiple exercises for you to apply everything that we teach. And also you're going to have individual feedback at the end of the session if you also want it. Why? Because we believe that in public speaking, we learn by communicating. So if you communicate and you do the exercises, the main topic that you'll get from here is the individual feedback about your strengths, about your flaws, and how you can improve your communication. So first of all, I would like to ask you, what are the main problems that you have in terms of public speaking regarding science? The main problems that you feel in terms of public speaking?
I feel that people are not understanding me at all.
Okay. About the topic itself?
Yes, about the topic itself, yes.
We'll talk a little bit about that, about the structure, how to capture the attention of the audience, and also how to be more clear about the structure that you can apply either to the competition and also to your life. More problems that you feel?
Time management for me.
Time management. Too long or too short?
Too long.
Too long. Okay. Normally about the time, we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you have some bigger challenge with the time, just ask Nita, okay? So, more challenges that you face.
For me, it's the speaking too fast.
Okay,
Sometimes I speak too fast, even in English.
Okay. That is regarding normally about the nervous reaction that we're going also to talk a little bit about. With that, if we feel that any of you are not clear because of the rhythm that you speak too fast, we're going to also correct that in the individual feedback. So in order for you to communicate better in the videos and also on video calls and also on presenting. Nuno, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you, David. One of the main difficulties concerning this 3-minute thesis is to express myself in English.
Yeah.
My topic in English. I'm not one of the ones that are writing the thesis in English, so how to convey this subject in a foreign language?
Yeah.
With all those virtues, persuasion, conversion, compelling, blah, blah.
in terms of that, we're now going to also talk about not only about the structure, but how you can pass your structure and pass your speech to some kind of notes that you will remember at the speech itself. We're going to also talk about two types of supports in types of notes. Firstly, we're going to talk about the ideal support. And secondly, we're going to talk about the support when we speak in not our native tongue. So especially about what Nuno was saying. Why? Because in our native tongue, we have a lot more, we more easily find the right words at the right time, whether in English or in another language is a little bit hard. So I'm going to give you two types of supports that will help you either in your native tongue, either also in English. More problems that you have or that you feel?
The complex terms. Sometimes I feel a little bit lost because I want to explain a concept and then it's difficult to explain also what I'm doing.
Okay. Explaining more difficulties that you have.
Sometimes I feel that when I try to simplify, I feel that what I'm telling is basic and everyone knows what I'm trying to say because I try to simplify it so much that it's obvious for everyone. I think that.
Okay. Is this a kind of challenge that everyone feels? The majority of you?
I think
if
so,
you want,
because
we can also talk a little bit about it because we want to simplify but not oversimplify.
yeah, because the people we don't want people to notice that we are oversimplifying because it might be offensive in some way if you are like turning down the complexity a lot and being very obvious about it. You don't want that, and sometimes it's hard because we want to convey the idea, but if we oversimplify it, like, okay, so this cell is a square, okay, yeah, that's stupid. You are dumbing it down like a lot. So yeah. It's hard to find a balance.
When you go to the extreme, we're kind of losing our credibility. So
yeah,
it's not the best option here.
Any
more difficulty or challenge that you face regarding the videos itself? Anything? The videos were easy to make? Kind of. We're kind of going to talk about the presentation in person. We're also going to talk about video calls and also how to apply this in a video like the one that you did. So if there are no more challenges, we would like to see your public speaking skills. So we're going to start for the first exercise. This exercise is really simple. You will be in groups and you will answer the following question. Why are public speaking skills important in science? You're going to have 10 minutes to prepare and 3 minutes to present. In terms of the presentation, I will ask you that that every group selects selects a person to present in the name of the group. Okay? Yeah? So 10 minutes, really simple. I will get you then to some simultaneous rooms so that you can do it. If you need any help, just click on the help button on the room, and I will get there. Okay? So we'll have 10 minutes to prepare this, and then we're going to present. Oh, by the way, the presentations that we're going to have today will be all standing up. Okay? So that you prepare for that. So 10 minutes starting now. Good luck. Isto aqui não tem pessoas. Speaking, we have a rule that is the first person that comes to the room is the first to present. So we're going to start by your group. So if you want to already get up with a camera from your waist up so we can see you, you can already do that. So let's stand up and get ready to present.
Are you talking about my group, David?
Yeah, room free.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm not the presenter. Is a braver person than me.
No, but everybody.
Daniela, parece que somos nós.
Everybody will
Olá.
present. So, is the group 3 ready? Yeah, no. Are you listening to me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, everybody.
But
from
Daniela
every
is still connecting.
group present. I'm going to ask the whole group to get up and also say some words, okay? So let's just check if the cameras are okay.
I don't know if
It's technically difficult.
I don't have much room.
I don't. I have a
It's
very
going to be a
small
weird
ceiling.
angle.
Very small ceiling.
Jesus.
The most weird angle.
Ian is okay. Nuno.
Yes.
It's what we got, so we're going to roll with it. Alexandra, you okay too? Christiana, can you move the camera a little bit down? Just a little bit?
Down, but then
Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
It's okay. Whenever you're ready. Okay. Oh, the mic. Daniela, the mic. You don't have sound on.
Tens que ligar o áudio.
Sorry.
I'm really sorry, but I can't stand up because of my headphone.
Okay, no problem with it. Daniela, whenever you're ready.
Yes. So public speaking is very important because allow us to reach more people and can close the gap between the community and also between academia and community. And it allows us to clarify some misunderstandings, for instance, about these vaccines, and motivate people, young people, to pursue a career in science and to be researchers. Also, many times when we try to get funding, we are talking with a jury that is not an expert in the area, so it's important to explain our ideas in a very simple way. And we also believe that in Portugal is a bonus to know how to communicate science, especially because it's a very scarce ability. So I think that this somehow can increase our CV. And I would like to share my experience, because in the lab recently we created a communication department, and this was a big help to share our publications and share what we are doing. And also another person in the group is doing some workshops in schools and also some podcasts, and she found many people interested in chemistry and to pursue this career in the future. All of this together, I think that will help the university to increase the credibility. So we believe that communicate science is a plus that can help the researchers and also the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything that the group would like to add from group 3?
Just to thank Daniela for her mission.
Okay, so we're going to move on to group 1 with Angela, Luis, Marina, Murilo, and Sara. I'm going to ask for the whole group to present.
Yes, so we should have defined the order previously. Okay.
You can do it now. It's okay.
It's far away.
Can we do that by alphabetical order? I don't know, just for this to be like easier, that we are not.
Okay, so I'll start.
Yeah, maybe please.
So having skills on public speaking, it's very important to educate the community. This way, we are going to be able to fill the gap between the community and the researchers, and also to generate critical thinking. the next one.
So the next one would be me, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, maybe me. Okay.
You are Luis.
Yeah, I am. I was forgetting for a few minutes. So what's my name? Yeah. So the next point that we had is related to the importance of empathy in the case of conveying science to the general public. So in situations of crisis, and of course this is one of the things that is more mentioned nowadays because it's where we live on now. The idea of having empathy and for the public, the general public, to have empathy for the situations is really important in order for people to have to be prone to really understand the questions and also to understand them from the point of view of other people, which is by definition what empathy means. So this idea of promoting the empathy on the general public, on promoting this exercise of people putting themselves in the place of the others, the ones that are, for instance, in the first lines of defense, like medical people or people that are suffering more. This idea of empathy, we think that it improves the general distribution of the scientific ideas and all the benefits that might come from that.
So this led us also to think about what is the scientific method. So scientific method in all of the areas is basically focusing on problems that will come ahead. So in every field, we are now focusing more on biomedicine because it's the problem that we have right now. But we have problems in all areas. We have cultural problems, educational problems. We have problems related with industry, with also the environment. And sometimes people, since they don't get the empathy with the problems of the others, because they are not able to think ahead, which is the work that we do, which is the scientific method, is to think ahead, to solve problems. So we need to convey a message that the problems will come, but without alarming the population. So it is important that in order to convey a proper message, we have a dialogue, a speech that induces pacification, that relates to empathy, that creates empathy with the people, with the general public, but do not cause chaos or panic among our audiences. So this is why it's very important to learn how to communicate, to connect the people with others' problems without make them engaged and feeling that science and scientific method is important without generating panic or alarmism.
Yes, for sure. When you have a good public communication skills, you can create more connection with the others to know about the problems and to understand better the situation. You can create an environment of more involvement because communication, it's about sharing information. Sarah.
You're mute, Sarah.
Okay, do you hear me, people?
Yeah.
Good morning. And we believe the communication science can pass the credibility for science, especially in this moment of pandemic. I think it's extremely clear that we are living a period of denial. So it's important that the researcher show all their competence for speaking about some subject and showing all the benefits of the science.
And that's it.
So we'll move on then to room 2 with Bayan, Brígida, Carlos, Marta, and Piotr. I guess is the way you say it.
Should we be standing?
Yeah. Standing, please. Your feedback will be a lot better if you're standing.
Okay.
So let's just check the cameras.
It's okay. That's okay. Okay. Is there someone who knows the project better than the researcher himself? Well, the researcher will be the best person to present his project accurately. But the researcher has to know how to communicate his idea effectively to different audiences, also in a persuasive way. Therefore, a researcher must have not only to be a good investigator, but also a good public speaker.
Well, first, as a PhD student, public speaking is important to present our thesis. Science is a peer-based knowledge, so we are always needing to communicate our science with our peers. Throughout our career in Congress, we also need to public speak to better convey our ideas with our peers. Science is a peers-based knowledge, so public speaking is important in that way.
Public speaking is also important to be able to sell our idea with the general public, to convincing them about our importance of our work, because thanks to that, we can also convince people that our work is important and then be able to achieve the funding, because understanding the importance of our work can also convince the funders, the funding committee, that is not always related with our field, that what we do will be beneficial for the science itself and for the population.
And it's also important for us to be able to have these skills of public speaking, because we could be more able than normal journalists to convey our message in a rigorous and accurate way. We also want to do so to reach the community and to better help them to benefit from our research and our results. Also, yeah, I think Bayan is not here, so I'm going to do the part that we have settled for her. We also want to show that science is exciting and not boring, and who better than the one that is exciting about his own work to do so. So it's important for us to be able to convey our message and have this public speak skills.
Thank you. So move on then to room 4 with Daniela, Jordan, Mateus, Saman, and Sarah.
Yes.
Again?
Okay.
No, not you, Sarah. Other Sarah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have 2 or 3.
Yes.
Oh,
When
hello.
you're ready.
Okay. Hello. The first point that we think that is important in science communication is about share the knowledge, to bring our knowledge to solve a real problem, and it is just possible if we communicate our research.
Yeah. Yes, and we also think that it's important to have communication skills to engage others in our research, because the ultimate goal of science is to transform society. So the researcher is a vehicle of change, and he needs to engage other people in his work too. So communicate is the first step to engage others to our mission.
Yes, and public speaking is very important nowadays to trying to impact society on reducing the science denial, because we are now living some strange times with a lot of science denial, and with good public speaking skills, we may fill the gap between the community and the researchers to show really what science is and why science is important.
Also, we discussed the importance of doing this in a foreign language or English to achieve a greater audience or an international audience, which is very critical when you talk about sharing your ideals and simplifying them for the world to understand, and showing people and teaching people about these concepts that we research so hardly. And also, you know, speaking is an amazing tool to divulge your ideas in terms of creation and getting away from just the academic article, which is pretty limited when it comes to the audience itself. Just like if I can speak Russian, I can make my idea reached by another 258 million people. The same way is achieved even further with the English language. Also understanding cultural differences between the languages in each language can help as well. I know in my time during Afghanistan, for example, if you stood up straight and looked a man in the eye, which I was taught as a young man in the United States, when I'm always talking to someone, to stand up and look in the eye. I know in Afghanistan that can be offensive. So understanding these cultural differences is very important as well as we spread our ideas.
Has everyone spoken? Someone is not going to present.
Okay, I can do his part as well. We were going to give Saman the part about funding. So,
oh, Saman,
is he here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Thanks
it's a connection. My topic is the connection between the fund and public speaker. Some people great as a public speaker. Speaking is so important. It's so important part, and it has a connection with the fund. Good public speaker come from practice. Naturally, public speaking is encouraged in business because they share the idea, the content with the customer, with the superior, with the co-worker, and another party. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we'll now move on with our presentation. I will just share the screen with you. So tell me, this exercise was really hard for you? Was it easy? Easy? Yeah. The next ones will be harder, okay? So prepare for that. So we're going now to talk about the structure and about the message itself. I would like to ask you one thing, first of all. What is for you communicating? What is communication for you? In the base of communications, what do we have to do? What is communication?
Convey our ideas, I think.
Convey our ideas, yeah?
Verbally and non-verbally.
Verbally and non-verbally.
I think that's the hardest challenge right now with this digital way of communicating. I personally, I prefer much more having the people in the room with me because that part of non-verbal communication, it's so important, even for you to get the sense that you are getting the message or you are not getting the message, you are being able to explain yourself, that kind of things.
Yeah. In terms of online communication, we lose some tools, but we also gain others. Okay, but we're going to see that further. So what is communication?
Yes,
Sorry.
It is also a way to persuade people, to make them believe that our research is actually important, is worth all the trouble.
Yeah, it's also persuasion.
Is deliver a message that is understandable by the others.
Deliver a message. Everyone has somewhere to take some notes. Yeah. So first note that we're going to take: communication is delivering a message, but it's much more than that. I think this is the biggest problem that we have in communication in the 21st century. Why? Because the majority of people think that the mission that we have is to communicate and to transmit a message, and only that. And we cannot only do that. We, in terms of communication, we have two steps. First of all, we have to deliver the message, but in order for us to deliver the message, what do I need from my audience every single time?
Understand.
Attention.
Attention, okay? Most of the people focus on transmitting a message and little on getting the attention and keeping the attention of the crowd when they are presenting. So first of all, we have to transmit the message, and for that we have to capture the attention. And how do we capture the attention? From the structuring of our message and also from our nonverbal cues and how we behave on stage too. What's the second step of communicating? First of all, delivering the message. What's the second and also the most important step on communication, especially in your field?
I didn't understand your question, David.
We have two steps in terms of communication. First of all, we have to deliver the message. And the second stage, that is what we also have to do. Understanding is related to that.
Receive feedback. I don't know.
Feedback is related to that.
To assure that the message was understood.
Understood, closer. Not only
To
understood.
be clear about the message.
Be clear. That's going to help.
Persuade the public.
Persuade the public. We also going to need this second step to persuade the public.
Is to capture their attention, but to keep them interesting the whole time we are talking. Because sometimes we just capture the attention in the first minute, but then people just lose interest.
Yeah. But
To
we have
engage.
to engage. All of it that you're talking about is going to deliver a certain result. What is the result of all the tools that you're saying?
A
The
take-home-
engagement, understanding, which
A take-home message for the audience to go with?
We're closer. The second step on communication is the retaining of information, is them remembering what we said. And that is mainly the biggest problem that we have. Why? Because people tend to focus on delivering the message and don't focus on getting that the message stays in the head of who was listening to us. And this is going to be really important for us to persuade someone to help us with our science, for someone to remember that message and deliver it to other people, and to also do our communication, do our science, to go to the masses and go to other people. So we're going to have two main focus here. How to capture the attention and keep the attention throughout our presentation. And secondly, how we can keep them interested, but most important of all, that they will remember what we said and they will remember the main message that we're sending. Public speaking is not about what we say. Public speaking is what our audience remembers 2 days after when they go to dinner with their families. It's not about what we say, it's about what they keep. And for that, we're going to need two things. We're going to need a message and we're going to need form. What is the most important part in communication? The message itself or the way that we present?
The way we present.
Both.
Why? Just
both.
Yeah, both are important, but it's because in public speaking, mainly people think, oh, the way we present is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. Why is that?
Because you can have a great message or an important one, and if people doesn't get it or does not pay enough attention or it's not clear enough for them, they will not remember, they will disregard what you're saying, and that's all in vain, your work.
Okay.
We can see that now with all the repeated messages delivered in the same way about the health measures that we should be respecting, and everyone is ignoring because they are just overwhelmed with information and other problems with the communication.
And what if the opposites occur? Mariana, you want to say something?
I was just adding that in the case of the problem that we are facing now, I think that the main problem is not the way that is also the way that they are using to deliver the message, but it's also the message itself that is not clear.
So in terms of public speaking, there's kind of a pre-made idea that the most important part is the way that we present and not the message itself. I disagree completely with that. For me, the most important thing is the message. Why? Because we can have really good public speaking skills. We can talk really good with everyone, but if we don't have a good message that can create an impact that is interesting for the people that are listening, good public speaking skills are not going to help us anyway, because sooner or later people will get caught with the absence of any substance and in the absence of a good message. For me, first of all, we have to create the best message possible. We have to structure the message the best way we can. And then the way we present is going to be the difference between delivering a good message or a great message, especially in terms of the audience retaining the information that we passed. Clear to everyone? Yeah? So in terms of structure, there's a little bit of skill that we're going to have here in order to make your presentations more influential and also more worthy of attention. What are the 3 parts of speech? Anyone knows? Basic. 3 parts of a speech of a story or a story. Introduction, development, conclusion. In public speaking, we have 2 others. I'm going to just let you take notes for a minute. The first and the last part of our speech are probably the most important parts of a speech. Why? Because on the first parts of a speech, in the opening, we get the attention from the audience. And on the closing part of the speech, we get maximum retention of information. So if we begin well and also if we end well, we're going to have more attention and also more retention. That are the basic 2 steps that we need in communication. So in terms of public speaking, there's also an idea that my focus when I'm communicating with someone is to deliver just a message. And my focus just to deliver information. This is completely wrong. I'm going to ask you to point this out. We as a speaker, we have 2 responsibilities. I'm going to have to transmit knowledge, not information, but knowledge. Second of all, I have a responsibility to entertain my audience. I have to give them reasons to rather look at me than the phone that is in their hands. We have to give them reasons to care for what we're saying. We have to entertain our crowd. It's not just saying the words, we have to entertain also the audience. How do we do this? In terms of openings, how much time do we have to capture the attention of our audience? From the moment that we step on stage and say, good morning, how many seconds do we have to capture the attention of the audience? Any guess?
It's
3
like
or 4?
Yeah, 5, maybe.
5 seconds to 7
David, which
seconds.
audience? Which audience?
The majority of them. The majority.
An adult audience, academic audience, a jury, children.
The majority of them.
Okay, we are talking with different audiences.
Yeah. We also have to adapt the message to different audiences.
So we can be stuck in the opening for the length of the speech. Let us remind of that.
How can you explain them? I'm not getting your point.
Okay. My background is theater.
Yeah. The mic.
My background is theater.
Yeah.
We perform for all sets of different audiences. So the reaction of the audience is not the same. So we can say there is an average time of retaining or capturing attention, but are you sure you can say it's 5 seconds or 10 seconds?
No. That's why I'm saying
a Portuguese audience that is listening to an English-speaking speaker, the audience of a workshop like this one.
Yeah.
Okay, let us be more relative in this concept.
Yeah. I completely agree with you.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that the majority of audience delivers and kind of decides the attention they're going to give to a speech in 7 to 10 seconds. Obviously, there are audiences that take a little bit longer, audiences that take a little bit less. Okay, it's adaptive. Nothing that I'm going to say here is like the 10 commandments that you're going to have to follow religiously. I'm not from that kind of school. The thing is, open in a way that's going to capture the attention. If it's 5, if it's 10, if it's 15 seconds, it's okay. But it's around the first moment of the speech, they're going to have to be captivating to our audience. So what's the worst way to begin a speech? The worst way to begin a speech? Any idea?
By showing the agenda?
Yeah, is not the best one. There's the worst one.
Not being energetic enough, like being monotonous.
Yeah, it's not the best way also.
Start by the literature.
Yeah, it's not the most captivating thing about it. Now, so we have another opening that's kind of dull. That's with the acknowledgements and the greetings, and I would like to greet this one, this one, this one, this one, to thank this one, this one. And also the message that we're sending to the audience at the beginning of our speech is that it's not going to be that really captivating, that really interesting. Those parts are important, okay? But they should not be the first thing coming out of our mouth. Those parts will become important in the introduction, not the opening itself. I'm going to have 3 openings for you. That's probably going to be the best ones that you're going to use. The first opening that we're going to use is starting with a question. Anybody here has ever felt nervous in public speaking, for example? Starting with a question is probably the best opening that you have when you want curiosity and attention, okay? This question can also be done in 2 ways. I can do a rhetorical question that's just to make people think about it. The other thing that I can do is do a question that I want my audience to answer, as we are doing here, or for example, just to move their hands up, whoever has ever felt nervous in public speaking and raise their hand. What's the difference between them? When we do a question that the audience responds, we normally get more engagement with the audience that delivers more attention for more time during our presentation. If you do think that the audience may not like that much about answering directly to the question, there's no problem at all at beginning with a rhetorical question, okay? But the important thing here is beginning with a question to make people think already about our topic to captivate our audience. The second opening that we can make is beginning with some type of quote. The quote is not that good for attention as it is the question itself. What is the advantage of beginning with some quote regarding, or rather, than a question? What is the advantage of beginning with a quote? If it's not that good for attention, what is the benefit of the quote itself?
It's more secure for those who are nervous about the beginning of the presentation.
It depends on the amount of the quote itself, because if it's really long, it's probably not going to work out that well. That's another advantage.
It conveys an idea of credibility of the people,
exactly.
the person speaking.
Exactly. When we begin with some kind of quote, we associate ourselves with the font of the quote itself. Okay, so if we do this with a quote for someone who is regarded as an authority by our audience, we tend to increase our credibility. So play with this strategically. If you're going to have a moment that no one knows you, that you kind of have to create that sense that you know what you're talking about, probably beginning with a quote is also a good option for you because it enhances your credibility. If I want more participation, if I want more curiosity, if I want more attention, probably beginning with a question is the best option for me. What's the difference between two? Choose them strategically, but the two have to be really short. Okay, we have to go directly to the point because we cannot do a question with 5 phrases. We cannot do a quote with seven phrases. Why? If it's too long, it's not going to create an impact. Clear for everyone? Yeah. The third one is storytelling. This one is kind of a bonus opening. Why? Because questions and quotes result in 99% of the speeches. The story itself, it doesn't depend on the way that you open the speech itself. It really depends on the way you say the story and also the quality of the story. So what I tend to advise, if you have a really good story, you can also use it to open your speech and close your speech. But the thing is, stories are also really long normally, are more long than a question or a quote. If I only have 3 minutes, beginning with a story may be a little bit harder for me to explain all my points, unless all my points and all my material is really connected to the story itself. Okay, so the story depends on the quality of the story itself. So let's be a little bit frank about this. Normally the question or the quote result in 99% of the speech. Okay for everyone? Yeah. So we open the speech with a question, with a quote, we capture the attention of the audience, and then we go to the introduction. The introduction is for 3 simple things. What am I going to talk about? Who am I to talk about this? And thirdly, if it's needed, we're going to make acknowledgements, okay, and greetings. Firstly, what am I going to talk about? Secondly, who am I to be speaking about this? And thirdly, thanking whoever I need to thank. Informal situations. We can also do this in another way about the acknowledgements. We can do the acknowledgements at the end of the introduction. We can also do the acknowledgements at the end of the conclusion. In a formal speech, where do you think is better? To make the acknowledgements at the end of introductions or make the acknowledgements at the end of conclusions, informal speeches?
I would say conclusion.
Me too. I would say conclusions.
It depends on how comfortable you are, okay? In terms of communication, we have a bonus if we do the acknowledgements on the conclusion. Why is it better on the conclusion than on the introduction?
Because it doesn't break the message.
Doesn't break the message. Mateus?
I was about to say the same thing.
Okay, there's another thing. When you're going to deliver the message, imagine that I'm doing a presentation that takes 20 minutes. I'm talking about my material for 20 minutes, and about 20 minutes, 19 minutes, something like that, I say, finally, I would like to thank the invitation to be here with you today, and also like to thank your attention throughout the presentation. What do we understand right there, right at this moment, that is going to happen? And someone says this.
That it's going to happen to conclude the presentation.
To end. At the precise moment that we acknowledge that something is going to end, we tend to give the attention to that speaker again. When we understand that something is going to end, everybody lifts their head up and we have all the attention from the audience to deliver our final quote or our final phrase when everybody is listening to us. So if I'm going to do acknowledgements, and if you're comfortable with that, you're going to have the acknowledgements at the end of the conclusion to be polite, but also to capture again the attention of the audience and then deliver our final impact for them to remember what we said on the speech. Clear to everyone? Yeah. So in terms of introduction, what we're going to talk about, who am I to be speaking about this? And thirdly, acknowledgements if it's a formal situation we're not really comfortable about that audience. Then we're going to develop, we're going to talk about our message, the things, we're going to prove what we have to prove, and then we're going to move on to the conclusion. In terms of the conclusion itself, people tend to they tend to pass too much time on the conclusion and then more than is needed. The conclusion is really simple. It's focus. If someone hasn't heard the majority of your message, or someone hasn't heard one of your points, that they can still take the most important message home. Okay, so I normally advise you to ask yourselves, what is the most important thing about my presentation? What do I need you to remember for me to attain my objective? What do I need you to remember from the 15 minutes that we pass here together? It's going to be really important also on the 3-minute speech. Okay, we're going to have a conclusion that if someone doesn't heard the middle of our speech, that they can still take a home message, a really important message with them. So it's really short, but it's really focused on the main important, on the main topics and on the main important message. And finally, we're going to have the final impact. The final impact, it's regarding the retaining of information. So we're going to have to finish the speech in a way that people will remember it. How do we do it? Has anyone seen here, for example, a movie? For example, anyone seen here the movie of Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody? Anyone seen that movie? You probably have seen movies throughout your life that begin with a scene and end up with exactly the same scene, right? What is the effect that this gives to an audience, beginning in a way and ending in exactly the same way? What is the effect to the audience?
That everything is linked?
Yeah, okay, that everything is linked. More.
It gives the idea of a circle being closed, so it's like satisfactory for the obsessive
More satisfactory to
compulsive
the
part
audience. Yeah. There's another effect that when we begin and end our speech in the same way, our speech tends to appear more organized. Okay, it's all programmed to have that same finish, and we also have appointed that to the audience at the beginning of the speech. There's also satisfaction because it's kind of circular. Yeah, Angela.
So you're saying that if we start our opening with a question, we should finish with the same question, or just a question, it can be a different one?
That's a way to do it. If I start with a question, I can end with a question. It can be the same, it can be another one related to that. I can also end with the answer of the first question. Okay, beginning with a question, ending with an answer. If I start with a quote, I can also end with a quote, the same one or another one. For the quotes, there's a little bit of a rule. I'm going to have two quotes, or from the same man, or from authors that are similar to each other. If I'm going to begin with a quote from, for example, Plato, I'm going to end with a quote from Aristotle, for example. They have to be some kind of link between them two. I'm not going to choose a quote just for being pretty or just for being funny with a quote. I'm going to select a quote via the authority of the speaker, via the authority of the author itself. So two quotes from the same speaker or from relatively similar speakers, okay? Also the question, I can also begin with the question, end with the question, or the answer of the question itself. This is not obligatory, okay? We don't have to do this every single time. There are moments that if we begin and end in the same way, it makes perfect sense and it really improves the benefit of our presentation. Why? Because when we relate those two, the beginning and the ending, people tend to remember it more. It tends to stay on our head and we create a wow moment that we relate the ending and also the beginning of the speech. There are moments that when we are trying to relate the beginning and the ending, it feels forced, okay? It feels too much, that we're trying too hard. If you're feeling that you're trying too hard and that doesn't come off really good, forget about it. We can also begin with a question, end with a quote, exchange the other ones. The only opening that we also have to end obligatory with, if I'm beginning with a story, I have to end with the story itself. Okay? Clear to everyone? Yeah? Doubts, questions? Anything about structure? There's also a thing I would like you to prepare at home. Rarely people do this. It's about the transition. When we go from point to another, it's important that you see this at home when I'm going from point A to point B to point B to point C. Why? Do we, when we improvise, make transitions normally? When we improvise? People do tend to make transitions from point A to point B. Yes, no?
I think so, but they are very subtle, no?
Yeah. Normally, there are transitions that are negative. When we improvise transitions, normally what people say is, okay, and we don't really have that flow of the speech that we want. The thing that I suggest you is on your presentation, see how you move on to point A to point B. This could be continuing, moving forward, going to the next point, just describing what we are doing, just to finalize, to end it. If we're describing what we are doing, we're going to add eloquence to the speech. Why? Because it's much more easy to follow our speech because we see some kind of line in the speech that is more easy for us to follow the speech itself. Secondly, when we are saying from a point A to point B, moving on to our next point, we're also saying to the audience, get the attention back from them. When you're saying, let's move on to the next point, people tend to connect again to the speech. Why? Because they have been unfocused from point to point B, for example. When we make the transition, we also remember them to give the attention back to the speech itself. So this introduces more eloquence to the speech and also help us to maintain the attention of the audience. Why? Because we make a huge difference by making a special word from 40 phrases to 40 phrases. It's not that hard to do, but if we don't prepare it and we tend to improvise it, we're going to have negative transitions. And those negative transitions tend to worsen the speech rather than help it to improve. Okay to everyone? Yeah? Any doubts, any questions that you'd like to make before the break?
Sorry, you said you sent an email? No.
I sent an email with the agenda in the beginning of the week.
Oh, okay, right.
After this session, I will send you the email with the presentations, access to the recording, and also access to the link to a questionnaire, okay? A satisfaction questionnaire for us, okay? And also I'm getting some details about the presentation and how the competition, the international competition allows some details. And we are in contact with them just to clarify, because this online version is different from the previous years. And we are trying to identify some details in order to help you to be the best as possible. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's see. Let's just wait 1 minute for everyone to come back.
Please put me as co-organizer, just for me to allow some people to get in.
Miss Carvalho, may I ask a question? Miss Carvalho?
Yes. I don't know.
Excuse me, may I have a suggestion for next year or not? Because as you know, before applying for this competition, I didn't have any background about how to present this. And if you put this workshop before starting the competition, maybe it can be useful for all.
I understand. That's why we are giving the opportunity for all the participants to be in this workshop. Actually, I shared with the finalists yesterday, we are trying to improve and to give the opportunity to all the University of Coimbra PhD programs to access some more specific models or trainings about science communication. So we are working on that. This is the first steps of our improvement in science communication at the PhDs at University of Coimbra. But thank you for your suggestion, Bayan. Did I answer you?
Thank you. Okay. Excuse me, I can hear you.
I finished.
Rojo, can you repeat, please?
Yes, I was saying that about this workshop, we give the opportunity to all the participants to be in this workshop in order for you to improve your skills. But more than that, this is the 3-minute thesis competition is the first step that we want to give to our PhD students in order to improve their skills in science communication. So we are working on that, and we believe that in the early future, we will be able to promote workshops, models, or some specific training for all the PhD researchers in order for them to have and to develop these kind of skills. Yes?
Thank you.
Okay.
David,
Yeah,
I would like to have maybe some tips about one difficult that I have in communication. One of them is the time management that I already said, but I remember that I have another difficulty because I gesticulate a lot, too much, I think. And I don't like it, but I can't control because I get very enthusiastic about the thematic, and I think that I just gesticulate a lot, especially when I'm standing up. When I'm sit, I think I can control it better, but when I'm standing up, I'm
prefer.
You know, okay, and another. Okay, and another thing, when I don't have a mic, when I have a mic, I think that I have my voice nice. But when I don't have a mic, I start to talk very loudly, and such as I'm a woman, it sounds esganiçado. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, about that. I already have those two on your feedback that I'm going to give you on the afternoon. There's no such thing as too much gestures. What is normally the problem? May I give your feedback here in front of everyone? It's okay for you, Brigitte.
Sorry?
May I give the feedback about your
Okay, yes.
You don't have a problem with gestures, you have a problem with your feet. You always begin your presentation with your right foot behind you. So you're going to move up and down, up and down. What does this mean? We don't have a base, a stable base. So our whole body is going to follow our gestures. If you work out the feet that I'm going to work out with you on the afternoon, the gestures will become more natural and will become even more better for the audience that is viewing. I also think that your gestures is probably your strong point in communication. You need is a really good base, a stable base.
Yeah, but it's a good idea because when I have pulpito, I don't know how to say it. I think I do it better because so the fits it's
Is the difference between you were saying that you were standing up or if you're sitting down? If you're sitting down, you're more stable, so you feel better gesturing than you're upwards. It's not a problem of the hands; it's a problem of the feet. But I will work that with you.
Good.
Okay. And the second question, may you remind me?
The voice without the mic, it's too loud and.
It normally is also related to the position of your feet and also a gesture. Why? Because if we're not stable, we're breathing from up here and not breathing deep for you to use your voice as you should. So if we're going up and down, up and down, up and down, we're probably going to be breathing a lot more from here, and that tends to increase our voice and seem esganiçada, as you said. There's also a second thing. When we gesture, we want to gesture from, for example, from our eyes to our belly button, okay? More or less in this area. When we gesture here, our voice tends to be more controlled. When we gesture here, we tend to put our voice higher and higher and higher. That tends also to increase the problem that you said. So if we solve the feet, we'll solve the hands and also the voice. It's all connected, but people rarely have any notion what they're doing behind from the waist down when they're communicating. What is normal, because when we are communicating, all our focus is what is the word I'm going to say next, what is the phrase I'm going to say next. We don't have any idea what we're doing in terms of our body, but I'm going to correct you on that on the afternoon. Okay,
Yeah,
Brigitte?
thank you. Thank
Yep.
you.
So before moving on, any questions that you'd like to ask?
David, can you please, speak about how to control our stress during our presentation? Because, this is my weakness. When I CD and OT, and I can focus on my presentation. And so I can transfer my message to others.
Okay. In terms of stress and anxiety, we don't have that much power when we are speaking. The thing about stress and anxiety must come the 10 minutes before I make the presentation. Probably the 10 minutes when I'm already at the room waiting for my turn are normally the 10 minutes more important to stress relief and also to be in control of what we're doing. Why? Because those 10 minutes before, people tend to be reading what they prepared, looking at their notes and thinking from those 10 minutes, I should not forget about this. I should not forget about this. I should not forget about this. And when they get on stage, they tend to forget about it. Why? Because people tend to add pressure to themselves during those 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes before we go on stage are fundamental to be on condition, on physical condition to deliver a message. I'm going to give you two small points for that. The first is the posture that we have prior to going on stage. If we have 10 minutes, the majority of people tend to be with their notes and tend to be leaning forward. Everyone seeing my image well? Yeah? People tend to lean forward. When we lean forward, as I was saying to Brigitte, we tend to close our chest and also breathe from up here. What tends to increase and increase and increase our nervousness. If instead of being closed, we open a bit, first of all, instead of being upright, if we incline a little bit back, and secondly, our shoulders also to the back, we tend to breathe a lot better. If we breathe a lot better, when we go on stage, we're already way calmer than if we're not doing this. Second of all, I tend to suggest, if you can, to give your attention to something else than what you're going to say. Why? Because if I have my message prepared, it's not going to be those 10 minutes that are going to improve the message. Those 10 minutes only serve for me to be in physical conditions to deliver the message itself. So first of all, have a good posture. Secondly, if you have 10 minutes left, go and draw something. If you don't like to draw, go to Facebook, go to Instagram. If it's available to you on that situation, listen a little bit of music. If there's another speaker speaking, give attention to that speaker. Not comparing yourself to him, but really giving it attention and also enjoying the spectacle. If you tend, and also there's another way you can do this is kind of a fusion between those. You can do some breathing techniques, okay? You can do a lot of breathing techniques. What people tend to forget is breathing techniques don't result if we have a bad posture, okay? If we have the posture that I said to you, you incline back and also put your shoulders back. And if you have a good posture, you then can make a good breathing technique. The one that I tend to suggest is when we're breathing in, we count into 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Let out, repeat, let out, repeat, let out, repeat. What is the main advantage of this? When we're counting or breathing in until 3, we are bettering our breathing, okay? A little bit, we're bettering our breath a little bit. The second thing, and this is the majority thing here, the main thing here, is when we're counting until 3, we're not thinking about what we're going to say on stage. This focuses our attention not on what's going to happen from 10 minutes from now, but what is happening now. But if to you, it works better to give the attention to the other speaker, to make some kind of drawing, to go to your phone, is whatever works for you. Try multiple tools here, but focus on your posture most of all. Clear to everyone? Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's move on then to storytelling. Okay. I'll just share my screen with you. In terms of storytelling, there are multiple theories on the world. I'm really a fan of the most simple theory. There's like a three-part story. There's like the story that tends to work out better. But why do we tend to like stories in a speech? We're going to see any kind of speech, and we tend to give attention to speeches that have stories. Why is that? Why do we intrinsically?
It's easy
like,
to follow. Yeah.
It's easy to follow.
And because we want to know the end.
It increases our curiosity to see how it's going to end more.
Usually it's simple to understand.
It's normally simple. Why do we give more attention to story than to statistics, for example?
Most of the times people cannot understand what the numbers mean.
Yeah. And stories are easier to understand. There's 2 more reasons for that.
We can relate to a story personally.
We
Emotional.
tend to, if the story is good, the audience is going to relate to that story itself. Secondly, we can feel emotion on a story. We usually don't tend to feel emotion on a statistic. Pedro?
It's easier to remember the story as well.
And it's easier to remember. Why is it easier to remember?
Because of the emotion part, I think.
We have the emotion, and we have another thing. Since when are we used to listening to stories?
Ever. It's part of being a human.
From the moment we were born. We tend to give interesting and more attention and tend to remember more stories by 2 points. First, we are used to stories from a tender age. Secondly, we tend to remember it more because of the emotion of the story itself. So what we have is to have a 3-part story. There's the most simple story of all, but we have to focus on the emotion that is going to deliver to the audience. What is the main point here? All of us are going to have to use statistics, and we're going to have to use numbers throughout our presentations. It's part of it. The magic happens when we captivate the audience with a story and put our numbers and our statistics in the middle of the story in order to prove a point. When we do this, we have the best of the attention from the story itself, and also the best from the message, from the statistic, and also from the numbers. Not only story, not only statistics, but a combination of the both. But the statistics and numbers should come in the middle to prove the point that I am making. Clear to everyone? Yeah? So, what are the 3 parts of story? Again, we have the beginning, the middle, and the end, but what does come at the beginning? You can see this on Harry Potter, you can see this in Capuchinho Vermelho, you can see this in every single story. What is the first part of a story?
Once upon a time.
Yes.
Once upon a time. Once upon a time, someone. Okay. Once upon a time, there was Harry Potter. Once upon a time, there was Capuchinho Vermelho. We always begin the story with the protagonist itself. Okay. At the middle of the story, what happens?
The problem, the villain.
For example, imagine a story. Harry Potter was born in a great family, was really taken care of. It became rich. He constructed a family, had 7 children. He died from older age, happy and rich for the entire life. Is this a good story? No, it lacks drama. Okay, if we don't have drama, if we don't have Voldemort, nobody cares. Okay, at the middle appears Lobo it appears also Voldemort. We have to have a little bit of drama. Why? Because of the emotion itself. And at the end of the story, how does it end?
Happy ending.
Happy ending. We have an outcome. The outcome of the story tends to be more persuasive if the ending is positive. Okay? There were some studies made in terms of neuroscience that people tend to act more on happy endings than on not so happy endings. And if you have a story, probably a happy story, okay, but if you don't have an happy ending on the story itself, what can we use as a substitute to the happy ending?
Humor.
Humor? Not so much.
Moral.
To be continued.
Exactly. What we can learn from Sr. Manel. What happened to Sr. Manel that we're going to learn from it to not repeat the same things that Sr. Manel did and what happened to Sr. Manel. Exactly that. In terms of persuasiveness, if the ending is a happy ending, that tends to be more persuasiveness. If that's not possible, I will tend to have some kind of lesson, some kind of moral to take out from the speech. Is the same thing as Contos da Carochinha that we all live by. Those stories are the best ones. Why do we have more attention to stories? Because as we are saying this, as we are listening to a story, there are two things that happen simultaneously. When I'm talking to you, I have a part of my brain that is responsible for the production of language. And also, when I'm talking with you about the story of a small boy that was in the middle of the desert that picked up a cup, I'm also having the same region of my brain as I was holding the cup itself, when I'm telling the story about the children grabbing a cup. The thing that they saw in some studies is that the audience itself does have a part of the brain responsible for receiving the language and also the same part of the brain as they are holding the cup itself. Why? Because we are imagining the children on the middle of the desert with the cup itself. We are living the story. When we are living the story, we are giving full attention to the speaker itself. And also, as we move to each of these three parts of the speech, there's also a reaction that we do in terms of our brain. When we introduce the protagonist, we release oxytocin. Oxytocin is like the connection hormone. Mariana, if you want to explain, I know this is your field, you're completely comfortable to add something. When we introduce the protagonist, we feel connected to that protagonist via oxytocin. When we get to Voldemort, when we get to the dilemma, when we get to the drama, we release cortisol. We feel worried about what is going to happen to the protagonist that we are already connected about. And at the end of it, when everything ends okay and they lived happily ever after, we release dopamine. We feel good about the good ending, and also that final feeling of joy, that final feeling of pleasure, tends to make people more persuaded and to act on the story that they heard. The main thing here is when we talk about the protagonist, we feel connected to the protagonist via oxytocin. When we introduce the drama, we feel worried. When we introduce the good ending, we feel okay because everything went well and everything turned out happily ever after. And when we are feeling, this is the main point. Why? Because people may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. If you make your audience feel something when we are speaking, during our speech, the audience will not only give you more attention, they will remember it more. And as I said, the main advantage here for us is when we put stories in science communication. Also, if you want some examples of this, I can also give you some videos for you to see if you want at the end of the session, okay? I think it's really worth it for everyone to see good science communication via storytelling. I will also recommend you on the ending of it. But the main thing here is using our stories to improve our points and also to add the numbers, the statistics that we need to prove our science. And when we do this, beginning with a story, ending with a story, and in the middle of a story, complementing it with numbers, we have an increased advantage for people to remember and to understand our science itself. Okay to everyone? Yeah? Any doubt, any question? Do you want the examples of the videos on the end? Yeah? So I'll send you at the end of the session, okay? So, any question about storytelling? No? Nice. So let's go on to the second exercise of the workshop. The second exercise, as the title, we're going to make a storytelling exercise. It's really simple. What we're going to do, I'm going to show you 3 images, okay? And you have, in groups of 5, 6 people, you have to construct the story from these 3 images. It doesn't have to be on the order of the images itself. You just have to create a story based on the 3 images that I show you. Clear to everyone? Yeah? 10 minutes to prepare. So I'll show you the images now. Image 1. If you want, you can take a picture, you can take a print screen, but I don't think it's necessary. So image 1, image 2. Okay. Image 3. You have to create then a story about this image, and about this image. You're going to have 10 minutes to do that, and everybody will present as before. Okay? Any questions? So let me just recreate the rooms.
Sorry, I have a question.
Daniela. Daniela?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was another one.
Talking.
So it's sorry, I'm listening echo.
Yeah, we all are. I think.
Weird.
Yeah.
Can you hear better? No.
Yeah, it's okay.
My question is, do we need to use a story for the 3 images together? Like or it's one for each image?
Let me just. Okay. I was hearing the echo too. You're going to have to create a story in the group itself. So someone will do the beginning of the story, someone will do the ending of the story. It's a group presentation about these 3 images. It doesn't have to be on the order of the image that I present you, but it has to be something about a lizard, something about this man, and something about these 2 faces. Okay, it doesn't have to be the person itself, but you're going to be creative in trying to combine it. If you want to use Obama and Neil deGrasse Tyson, okay. If you want to use the meme and some kind of science behind it, as you please, be creative about it. Did I answer your question, Daniela? Do you want to rephrase it?
I'm also with it too. No.
What, Brigida?
Are you listening?
We are all with echo.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, everyone.
We are all with echo.
I don't know. This normally is about one computer, but we're going to go to the breakout rooms. Normally, it works that out. Okay. So everybody ready to the presentation? So 10 minutes. Good luck. The time is up. So we're going to start by room number 1 with Daniela, Jordan, Marta, and Sarah. The presentations will be again standing, okay, with the camera from our waist up. So let's just get ready for that. Yeah. Whenever you want.
Can you see me? Yeah, you do. Can I start?
Yes, you can. Yes,
Okay.
you can.
So do you know that the image of a confident scientist always seemed very sure about his research, presenting his results to you and making sure that you understand his message?
Well, most part of the time it's not so simple, and that scientist feels like an iguana in a soccer field.
Because the most of our days we work
having doubts about if we are studying is relevant enough, if we are doing the right thing, if we are some kind of imposters or something.
And sometimes we also feel fear about our research.
So next time you see that confident guy or girl presenting his research to you, remember, that's not always the case.
Thank you. We'll move on to room 2 with Angela, Bayan, Cristiane.
David, just let me say that the other people were not able to communicate proper with us, so we just present the 4 of us.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So we'll move on to room 2 with Angela, Bayan, Cristiane, Maria Inês, Mateus, and Saman.
Yes. Okay. I'm here. Can I start?
Yes, you can.
Have you ever heard of a lizard that entered a football field? I am Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I am going to tell you all about his story.
The lizard ran around the field and everyone tried to catch him, but no one was able to, and he just wanted to find a home.
The lizard was so fast and created such a mess that even Barack and Michelle Obama heard about what happened.
And Michelle Obama found that the lizard is so funny, so fast, that she looked to the Barack Obama and said, "Honey, I want that lizard as a gift now."
Thank you.
No, it's not.
Sorry, finally, sorry. Finally, the football coach Klinsmann catch the lizard, and the President Barack Obama, and Michelle was happy because he doesn't need to ask the security guy to protect them.
At the end, we had to choose a title for that, The Flying Adventure of Lizard on Football Pitch.
Okay, now we're done.
Okay, thank you. So now we're going to room 3 with Mariana, Marina, Nuno, and Piotr. When you're ready.
Have you ever heard about the most famous Portuguese football player? Once upon a time, there was a lizard that became one of the most famous Portuguese football players. After hard work and continuous trainings, it became the national proud and making Portugal winning all the European championships over 10 years.
Obama discovered that we have the best player ever, and he tried to recruit him for his team in the USA with Beckham. Afterwards, he tried a lot of things. For example, he tried to give me money, even a t-shirt or an amazing food like insects.
So, but apparently Michelle Obama was under the idea that this lizard was quite suspicious. So it seems roughly weird. It was with a different color. Well, it sounded a bit Russian. So she engaged on a mission undercover and she killed the lizard. So no more football player.
That ends our story, which you may found very believable or not. That is different from science. As Neil deGrasse Tyson says, the good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it. Thank you.
Thank you. And to end on a high note, we'll move to room 4 with Alexandra, Ana Santos, Brigida, Carlos, Luís, Tânia e Bernadette.
Estou dispensada? Também me chamaste a mim?
Desculpa.
So,
Ready?
Yes. The range of published evidence indicates that the climate changing is increasingly over the years. Today, we are going to tell you a story that shows that climate changing is not a fiction, is reality.
Mike.
Tá sem...
Tá sem som.
Now it's okay?
Now, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Jorge Jesus has this dog for the last 10 years, and he realized that the pet changed times and times. Started like a dog, changed to a bird, and now he's a chameleon. What is happening?
His news was famous worldwide and caught the attention of the Obama couple. As you know, they are famous for their positions on climate change, and they tried to organize a summit to understand how this lizard is changing constantly its positions.
And it caught the attention, of course, of their dear friend Neil deGrasse Tyson, which you might have heard him talk about lots of things. And his new show in the National Geographic is precisely dedicated to the case of the lizard, which was a chameleon, which appeared in Portugal as a dog and now has returned to its lizard form.
In the end, the animal was rescued for a natural reserve. Jorge Jesus stayed once again, remaining in history, and wrote a book about his learning. He ended the book with the phrase that he loved so much of Marisa's music: "It's necessary to lose to win later." Jorge Jesus believed that he gained a new view of the world, and now is a defender of animals.
Thank you. So a lot of good stories here.
Este exercício foi maravilhoso, David, a sério, obrigada.
I'm glad you liked it. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the form itself and regarding video and especially video calls. So in terms of video calls, we have some rules that we have to oblige to give the best presentation possible and also the best scenario that we can have. First question for you. What is the part of our house that we're going to select to make a video call? What is the best part of the house?
A quiet one.
A quiet one?
Yeah. The one that is less messy and that you can use
less
like a background, which seems like great.
Exactly. The thing is, when you're making a video call, we don't want many things hanging around here. The mistake that most people tend to make, I know you're already looking at some images, the mistake that some people tend to make, they select the room that are going to make the video call or the video, the room where they have the most books. And they have an entire shelf of books behind them. When you see this on the news or something like that, notice if you pass 2 minutes, something like that, if the guy isn't talking, we're not like, what book is that? And we focus the attention on the books rather than the speaker itself. We want the cleanest thing and also the room that is less noisy, okay, where we can be at peace and we can speak clearly to our audience without any noises, rather noises of audio itself or noises visually behind us, okay? The cleanest possible. Also is a really important thing that we select the room that has the best lighting on the house, okay? Ideally, natural lighting from the front or from the side. Why? Because light on the room itself regards more attention. You probably have been in a room, for example, in a class, something like that, where you get to the room and the lights are really low so we can see the PowerPoint really well. Have you watched that? When we get to a room like that the lights are low to see the PowerPoint, what do we think immediately when you see a room like that?
We are going to fall asleep.
We're going to the movies and we're going to relax and I'm going to sleep. If there's less light on the room itself, we're going to have less attention from the audience. This is true on videos. This is also true on Zoom callings. Second, it's not only light on the environment. If we're doing, for example, a video at night, we must have two lights, one up and also one on near the computer. So we have light on our face so people can see our facial expressions and also on the environment itself. Why? Because if we don't have light on our face, people tend to see less of our facial expressions and tend to see us as less empathetic than if they can see our face, okay? So less light on our face, less empathy, less light on the environment itself, less attention. And we don't want neither of those. You don't have to be influencers and have multiple gadgets of light, okay? A simple light on near the computer and a light on the top of the room is more than okay. Clear to everyone? Yeah. Secondly, how do we position the camera? It's the same for video and also video calls. We have to put the camera kind of in the line of our sight, okay? In the line of our eyes. So we have to get the computer a little bit up. Why? Because our face should be the center of attention and not be speaking from up to the computer, but in line with the camera itself. So we're going to move on the computer a little bit. You can put it on top of the printer. You can also put it on top of multiple books, or for example, a shoebox is also really good for this. Just put the computer on something that you have the camera on your eyes. Secondly, what's the distance from the camera? We must be kind of one arm and one hand from the computer. Why? Because you want to be speaking and that people see your hands. When we gesture, when we see the hands of people, we tend to believe more in what they're saying. We also tend to create more empathy with the people itself. Why? In terms of non-verbal cues, when we take our hands down and is not visible, we tend to feel that the person is hiding something, okay? So we don't want that kind of feeling. We want to be at a distance that if we want to gesture, is visible for the audience. Clear to everyone? Yeah? This doesn't mean to be gesturing like this, okay? We don't have to move our hands up to be visible. We have to have some distance from the camera. If I gesticulate, you can see a little bit of my hands. We don't have to be like this all the time, okay? Yeah. In terms of visual contact, we need to make visual contact with the camera itself. In terms of videos and Zoom calls, there is a difference. In terms of videos, we want to look at the camera the majority of the time. In terms of video calls, it's not needed, okay? If we look kind of like half the time to the camera when we are speaking and the other half of the time when the other people in the meeting are speaking, it's okay. The important thing is to remember sometimes when we are in a video call to look up and look to the near side of the camera itself, okay? And Angela? Yeah?
I have a question, because in most of the interviews we see, people are not looking directly to the camera, but like to the side, to the interviewer. So I'm confused.
That's what I will be talking here now. You probably have seen some kind of presentations where the speaker is the majority of the time looking at this side. Why is that? If there are only two people, it's completely normal. When for example, Angela asked the question. When Angela asked the question, I was looking at her. It's normal to do this. When I speak, I have to remind myself from time to time to look at the camera itself. When we're listening, it's not a problem. To look at the other person is completely normal. But speakers that tend to pass all the entirety of the interview or the entirety of the speech looking this way, they're normally looking at one of two things. What are they looking when they're looking that way the entire of the speech?
To themselves?
To themselves?
Or to a particular listener?
Listener, or many times they have a Word document, something like that, on the side with what they have to say. And these two are bad. Why? When we see a picture of us with the family, of us with friends, who is the first person that you look at in that picture?
Ourselves.
Ourselves, okay? We have that natural tendency. When the speaker has his window on the side, it tends to pass more time looking at himself than for the camera. How do we solve this? First of all, there are many platforms like Zoom that you can move your image to near the camera, okay? If we move our image to near the camera, you can just press it and release it on the top of the camera. You have to have the latest version of Zoom. You put your image right in front of the camera. If I'm going to have a tendency to look at myself, at least gives the impression that I'm looking to the audience and remembers me to look sometimes to the camera itself. Second of all, some people tend to be a little bit nervous if they are looking at themselves. How do you do this? If you tend to become nervous for looking at yourself, click with the right mouse button on your image and select hide self-visualization. I have this in Portuguese, portanto, esconder autovisualização.
Self-view, yeah.
Exactly. You click there and you immediately disappear. So you're going to have to remember yourself to look sometimes at the camera, but this helps if you become nervous by looking at yourself, or if you don't become nervous and like to look at yourself, put your image right down the camera itself. There's another technique that I counsel, that I also suggest. It's not one or the other, it's probably both. Get a piece of paper or some kind of paper, draw a circle in it. It must be red, okay? Draw a circle red like a target and put that target around your camera, okay? Put that with some kind of glue, put that around the camera. That target, it's a constant reminder that I have to look sometimes to the camera itself. And either with my image behind the camera or down the camera, or with this target, I tend to remember a lot more to look sometimes at the camera and give a more personalized attention to my audience in the Zoom call or in a video also. Clear to everyone? There's also another trick. If you don't feel well by looking at other people, because sometimes people are watching a presentation, are making some ugly faces, you can feel nervous too. There's also a thing that you can do. If you're sharing any screen, if you're sharing screen like I do now, you have the option. If you select the first option of the images, is just to see who is speaking. So if you select that option, all the faces will go away. So if you feel more comfortable that way, it's also a viable choice to you. So any of these techniques will help you improve your connection. But remember, if I'm recording a video, I must look the majority of the video to the camera itself. If I'm making a Zoom call, it's important from time to time when I'm talking to look at the surroundings of the camera itself. Clear to everyone? Yeah? Any doubt regarding video calls?
Yes, I do have.
Sarah.
What do you feel about artificial scenarios background?
Okay, artificial scenarios. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Why? Because it tends to, when we're gesturing, artificial scenarios only tend to work when the person is like this. Okay, why? Because if I'm gesturing, the virtual scenarios, most of all, are not that well worked. So many times people will do this and half of the people will disappear, okay? Half of the person will disappear and there are less one eye and one pixel. It's not the best image that we're going to send, okay? If you're going to use a video background, make sure of it that is going to work properly. It happens, for example, imagine that you're going to show something. For example, you have a graphic that you want to show. For example, if I have a video background, sometimes the piece I'm going to show, it disappears. It tends to be a little bit messy with gesturing and also with the showing of any objects that can be good to a presentation. Make sure that this is working before you use that virtual background. For me, in terms of personal choice, I prefer a clean background that focuses the attention on the person and not probably what is on the behind of it. Okay, and remember, if I am going to use a virtual background, I must not discard my gestures. Okay, it's not because I wear a video background that I'm not going to gesture. It's better to gesture because it turns our communication a lot more natural, a lot more empathetic to the audience than discard my gesturing just to have some kind of virtual feedback. Okay? But make sure of it. Zoom also has a thing that tends to work better. It's like a virtual green screen behind you. It tends to be better than the normal option, but in order for you to have that, you have to have the premium account of Zoom. Okay, that tends to work better. But first of all, try it nonetheless. The important thing is I don't have anything behind me that is an image or that is a room that focus the attention of the people on what is behind me and not on the speaker itself. Okay? Oh, just by talking about this, in terms of the image, we want the camera in line with our eyes, and we also want a little bit of space between the top of our head and top of the image in order for our face to be the center of attention. Okay? Any more questions? Anything? No? It can be about this or any other thing that we talked about? No? So, last advice. In terms of your presentations, I will advise you how to get a few notes that we can use. Okay, you're going to record your presentations on video, right? Yeah. Are two things that we can use.
If I can clarify you, David, Navid, just the mixed languages. Yeah, the final will be live. Okay. We need to record the winner to send it to Coimbra Group to the international competition, but we will do it live. It will be recorded, but they will do it live. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it live and we'll do it via Zoom, right? Okay. So in terms of Zoom, the notes are probably important for you to remember all the speech that you're going to make. There are two things that we can use. First of all, do not use a Word document with the entirety of your speech. Why? People can see if you're reading something. Okay, in your tone of voice, in your eyes. If you have glasses, even worse. Okay, don't go there. How can we use this? First of all, get some post-its. Okay, some post-it. You get the post-it, you put the keywords of your presentation. Where do we put the post-its? On the top of our computer, near the camera. Why? Because this way I can see what I'm going to say while maintaining the majority of the visual contact with the camera itself. Okay? Second thing that I'm going to talk to you, get a paper, a big paper, okay, like A4. I don't know if this is what you mean, but a big paper, okay, A4. And on this big paper, you write your opening. I'm going to make this on the whiteboard. I think is easier. You get a paper. It must be big, okay, for me to look at the paper from a distance and not have to be like this to see what's written on the paper, okay? And I'm going to write my opening. I'm going to also write my final impact. On the middle of the paper, I'm going to make my points in gigantic letters, okay? I'm going to do this by keywords. How many keywords? 6 at the most, okay? For me too is easy to see, okay, 2 types of languages. I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. Only points, not written text, okay? So big letters are going to make the point, for example, 2 types of languages. In here, I will have my subpoints. Also in big letters, okay, I'll have my A1. Also 6 keywords at the most for me to be easy to identify what I'm going to talk about. First of all, written language, for example. Second of all, oral language, okay? I put those keywords. If I have something on my speech that I want to say exactly with those words, that's what we call a key phrase. If I want to use a key phrase, I'm going to write it here. For example, I have a key phrase on the A1, okay? I put some kind of shape, round, something like this, and I write my key phrase here. If you don't like this kind of thing, you can get a marker. You put a marker on the phrase itself, or you can get a post-it and also put a post-it on it with a key phrase. Why is it important that my key phrases, the parts of my speech that I want to tell exactly with those words, to be identified differently from the rest of the outline of the speech.
So it can be easily tracked, and then you can just read it.
First of all, if it's really important, I want to make sure that I don't forget about it. So if it's enhanced, I will easily take note of it and also say it. Secondly, how do we know that something in a speech it's more important than the rest of the speech? How do we know this as an audience?
With different stresses, rhythms.
Exactly. Is the way we say it. People tend to think that this is improvisation, as therefore as it is preparation. It's a lot more preparation than it is improvisation. When I get my key phrase and I identify it in a different manner, I know I'm going to say it in a different manner. This does what? In the key pieces of the speech, I can enhance what it needs to be enhanced, and when I deliver it, that part of the speech, in a different way, people are taking mental notes. It creates an impact. Why? Because I prepared it on my note scheme. Okay, so a big paper with the opening and the closing written. Okay, then the key points on big letters and 6 words at the most for any point and subpoint. And the parts that I want to enhance, I will written and I will put something on the outside of that trace that enhances it and make sure that I don't forget about it. Okay? Yeah. If you're not speaking in your native tongue, there's also a thing that you can do. Before you move on to this paper, you can write your speech. It's okay. I just ask you, try not to memorize your speech, okay? We can write it, but not memorize it. After I written my speech, what I will do, I will get, it tends to be a little more effective if I use some color scheme, okay? Imagine everybody seeing what I'm writing here, yeah? So imagine I have my speech written here. I will not memorize it. And imagine that I look here and I see, this is my point A, okay? And I identify it. This is my point B, I identify it here. This is my point C, I identify it here with a different color. And then when I move on to my supporting piece of paper, I will put here the things I will write here. I'll put, for example, in the same color that I identified on the first paper. Okay, so different colors for different points. Why? To make a connection between what I wrote and what I have to deliver. Why? Because in a different language, we have a more difficulty to find the right words at the right time. This tends to improve if you have time to prepare. So write your speech, identify with different colors the different parts of the speech, then move it to keyword 6 at the most, and move it to this supporting paper. This supporting paper, where is it? If I'm going to make a live presentation, I will take the paper with me, okay? If I'm not making a live presentation and I'm doing a Zoom presentation, I'll put the paper right behind the computer, a little bit up, for me to be easy to identify what I'm going to say, okay? It depending on your scenario, you can put the paper vertically or horizontally as you prefer. Okay, clear to everyone? This is going to help you a little bit to remember what you have to say on the right time. Okay, and also emphasize why it needs to be emphasized. Any questions before we end this part? Anything? No? So let's move on to lunch. Thank you, everyone, okay, for your attention. I will just ask you one thing. The finalists to be here at around 2, right, Anna?
Yes, exactly, David. I will ask the 20 finalists to be here at 2 to move to the individual feedback that we will have with the speak and lead team For all the others that participate at Treatment Thesis, I would like to thank you, and I will email you also to ask you to join us at the final and to support also your colleagues, and of course to know what is happening in other projects, PhD projects here at university, and be together as a 3-minute thesis family. So thank you so much for all of you to be here this morning. It was a pleasure always when we get together to speak about science communication and how to communicate better. So thank you so much. See you later for some, for the others, see you around. Any question, anything that we may help you about your presentations, your PhD, just contact us, okay? We are always available to support you.